Today, we're tackling something I know a lot of you have been talking about.
Yeah.
This whole Nepo Baby thing. It's everywhere.
Definitely seems to be buzzing around the internet.
Yeah, exactly. And we found a really interesting take on it.
Oh.
We're looking at an interview with Fernanda Torres. Now, if that name isn't immediately ringing a bell, she's a Golden Globe winning actress.
Wow.
And she's got this really interesting perspective because she's the daughter of a super famous Brazilian actress.
Oh, wow.
So
she's a Nepo baby herself.
She's a Nepo baby. Talk about Nepo babies.
That's meta.
Totally. And she doesn't hold back. She basically slams the whole stigma around it, you know, calling it like this ancient way of thinking. And saying that focusing on these individual Nepo babies is totally the wrong way to go if we want to achieve actual equality.
Okay, I'm intrigued. So I think before we go any further, maybe we should back up just a little bit for anyone who might not be completely up to speed on this whole Nepo baby thing.
You got it.
So the term kind of blew up after this New York Magazine piece that went super viral. It basically dove into how many Hollywood offspring are in the entertainment industry, you know? Like, how often do we see the children of famous actors and directors and producers following in their parents' footsteps?
Yeah, and it's definitely eye-opening.
For sure. And it's become this whole debate, right? Like, are these Nepo babies getting an unfair advantage? Are they taking opportunities away from more deserving outsiders? It gets pretty heated.
Well, Torres has a really interesting take on it. She's got this great quote where she's like, "Don't kill the Nepo babies at birth."
Okay, I love that.
It's playful, but it totally gets you thinking. She's making a point that this idea of learning your craft from your family is like deeply ingrained in human history. Like, think about all the family businesses that have been passed down through generations.
Yeah, totally.
So,
the family restaurant.
Exactly. It's not just a Hollywood thing.
It really highlights just how complex this whole issue is. You can't just boil it down to Nepo babies are bad or whatever.
Yeah.
There's a lot more nuance to it.
Absolutely. And to her point, she acknowledges that being a Nepo baby obviously comes with advantages, right? Like,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
you have access to connections and resources that other people could only dream of.
Right, but she pushes back on this idea that it's like a golden ticket to success. In fact, she argues that Nepo babies actually face some unique challenges too.
Don't like what?
Well, she talks about the intense public scrutiny they're under. They're constantly being compared to their parents. And there's this pressure to not only live up to their legacy, but also to prove that they've earned their success on their own merits.
Yeah, I can imagine that would be tough.
And that gets to her main point. Even if we could somehow eliminate every single Nepo baby from Hollywood, it wouldn't magically solve the problem of inequality.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
So what does she say we should be focusing on instead?
Well, Torres is all about addressing the systemic issues that create inequality in the first place. She argues that if we really want to level the playing field, we need to focus on things like access to quality education for everyone, regardless of their background, universal health care so people aren't burdened by medical debt,
Right.
and a more equitable system of taxation.
Which would mean?
Well, she specifically talks about need to tax large fortunes more effectively so that the wealthiest individuals and corporations are contributing their fair share to society.
So basically create a system where everyone has a genuine shot at success, regardless of where they come from.
Exactly. She's arguing that focusing on individual Nepo babies is kind of like putting a Band-Aid on a much larger wound.
It's about addressing the root causes, not just the symptoms.
Exactly.
I like that. And she even gets pretty specific about some of the solutions she's advocating for.
Oh, yeah.
Like, she talks about the need to regulate the digital world,
Huh. Interesting.
because she sees that as like this new frontier where inequality can run rampant. And she's pushing for policies that would ensure a more just distribution of wealth and opportunity in the digital space.
These are some pretty bold proposals.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I mean, she acknowledges that. It's not like she's naive to the challenges of implementing these kinds of systemic changes, but she's arguing that they're absolutely essential if we want to see real lasting change.
It's a really thought-provoking argument, and it kind of leads us to this bigger question that Torres poses. Is this whole hyper-focus on Nepo babies actually distracting us from these bigger, more impactful solutions?
Ooh, that's a good question.
What if we're so busy pointing fingers at individuals that we're missing the forest for the trees?
Right, because it's easy to get caught up in the drama of it all. The individual stories of nepotism in Hollywood are definitely juicy.
Oh yeah, they're super compelling.
But Torres is urging us to zoom out a little bit, to look at the bigger picture.
And for you, the listener, that's the real takeaway here. If we shift our focus away from individual Nepo babies, where should our energy be directed? What systemic changes do you think are most crucial for creating a more just and equitable world?
Yeah, it's something to really think about.
Because the goal here isn't just to tear down the privileged. It's about building a better future for everyone.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, that's all the time we have for this deep dive. This one really got me thinking.
Me too.
Be sure to let us know your thoughts. And we'll see you next time for another deep dive.